Trustees back in open session. For the record, the time is 7 p.m. While in executive session, no final action, final decisions, or final votes were taken. Please stand for the pledges and the invocation. I pledge allegiance to the flag
of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
The Texas flag.
Honor the Texas flag. I pledge allegiance to thee, Texas, one state under God, one and indivisible.
Let's pray. Father God, we thank you so much for this evening that you've given us. And Father, it's so good to see all of these parents and students here tonight. We're thankful for the opportunity to honor several of our staff members and the incredible work that they do in our school district day in and day out. Father, we thank you for them as well. We just pray for wisdom as we go into this meeting. Let us make decisions that are good for our school district, good for our kids, good for our community. And we'll give you all the honor and glory and praise for it. We ask this in Jesus Christ's name I pray. Amen.
Amen. On behalf of the entire Mineola ISD Board of Trustees and our Superintendent, I want to welcome you to tonight's meeting. Mr. Mize, Superintendent's report.
I'd like to welcome everybody to the board meeting tonight. Thank you all so much for such a great homecoming for 2022. We had Spirit Days, a great bonfire, the pep rally, the homecoming parade, homecoming court introductions. All of that was summarized with a really good win over Bonham on Friday night, and really proud with that. I'm always amazed at what our kids do day in and day out. I was thinking about our band students and was talking to several of our board members about this. Our band finished up on Friday night, did the homecoming game, woke up at 3:30 on Saturday morning and went to Prosper to compete in the competition. And we got students that do things like that all the time that represent us all over the place. And we've got a lot as a community to be proud of. Volleyball, our varsity girls are 7-0. They're leading the district right now. I've already talked about band, FFA, cross-country girls. They finished second in district and are getting ready to go compete at the next level. So lots of great things that are happening at our high school and our middle school and all of our extracurricular activities for our students. Next Monday night at 6 o'clock, you've seen the signs. There's a sign down at the corner of Patton and the Loop. And also as you travel up to the high school, there's a sign that says, Home of the Mineola TJC Promise Scholarship. And it's really an incredible opportunity for our kids. What's even more incredible is people were so generous and so good to our school district that they left a lot of money behind to be able to help kids that are going to be in need. And so next Monday night we'll have the opportunity to have the signing ceremony for the class of 2026. That'll be at the primary and the middle school cafeteria. And then also we have an Employee Appreciation Day coming up on the 29th from 10 a.m. to 2 p.m. at the Nature Preserve. So looking forward to that opportunity to honor a lot of our employees and thank them for the work that they've done. And Dr. Eddett, that's all we got.
Yeah, thank you. We'll get right into item F, recognitions and celebrations.
Good evening, everyone. It's my pleasure to announce our Mineola Primary School Students of the Month, Mr. Rylan London and Miss Paisley Hortman. Paisley Hortman is the daughter of Charmaine Hortman and is a first grader in Miss Chelsea Brown's class. Miss Brown shares that Paisley is a driven and happy student. She takes her time with her work to ensure that she does each and everything correctly, neatly, and to the best of her ability. She is the first person to volunteer to help another student out and makes the right choices even when no one is watching, so always showing that integrity. She is also independent and a leader to those around her. She is a beautiful reader and writer, and overall Paisley is a pleasure to have in class, not only as her teacher, but for her classmates, is what Ms. Brown shares. And Mr. Rylan London here. Rylan is the son of Casey and Brittany London, and he is a first grader in Miss Sadie Adams' class. Rylan is such a happy student with a contagious smile, and he brings that smile every day to everything he does. He is always working hard no matter what he is doing and is very independent. He is an excellent friend to others and always the first one to volunteer to help the teacher or a friend in need. He is also a wonderful storyteller and loves sharing his thoughts and ideas. He brings such joy to those around him and is such a pleasure to have in class. And we have been with both of these students for a few years, and I can tell you everything their teachers shared about them is absolutely true. And it is my honor to present Rylan Linden and Paisley Hortman to you.
Come on up, guys. Good evening. Our students of the month this month are fourth grade students, Cesar Lopez and Riley West. And we have had some sweet students, and I know I'm partial to my elementary school, but these are two of the sweetest. So Cesar is in Miss Fairmontez's class, and she said that he is a perfect example of what hard work and perseverance looks like. He is a tremendously dedicated student and is always doing what is asked of him. He has such a bright smile, and that is so true. An infectious, positive disposition. I am so glad I have the pleasure of having him in my class. Riley is in Mr. Burns' class, and he said, Riley is such a fun student to teach in class. She always has a smile on her face and is always willing to work hard with the other members of her class. She is a quiet leader in the class, and I am so thankful to have her. And I'm telling you, these two, when their bright smiles come walking down the hallway, it just has to make your day better. So I am so happy to have them represent our school this month. Okay, now let's look at parents. So ready? Let's look at Riley. Here you go. Now let's look at Cesar. Okay, good job, you guys.
Good evening. I have some sweet ones myself that I want to share. These are our 7th graders. I'm going to start with Kinsley. We always start with girls first. Kinsley's parents are Lori and Toby Harrell. Kinsley had a couple teachers that wanted to do a little write-up on her. Kinsley is a very deserving student for Student of the Month. This comes from Coach Veach. Kinsley is a very respectful student. She does what is expected of her both academically and also with behavior. Kinsley works hard and takes pride in her work as well. She's a very good leader as well and proves that in her classroom and also in athletics. She strives to do what is right and helps hold those around her accountable. She tries to make everyone around her better in every way. It is truly a pleasure to have her in class in athletics, very deserving of this award. And then Miss Kennedy says that Kinsley was chosen also because she's a very hardworking student. She cares about her grades and strives to exceed the expectations in class. She is a respectful young lady and works well with others. She is often willing to help when others are struggling or need a little extra help understanding. So when speaking with Kinsley, she and I were talking. She said math was her favorite subject. She says it's easy and she likes it. I don't understand that, but she does. Kinsley wants to be a vet. And she already has cats, dogs, cows, and horses, so she's getting lots of practice already. Her long-term goal of college, she does not know yet, but she definitely wants to attend FFA for her short-term goal in the future. So that's Kinsley. And this is Francisco. Coach Veach also wrote about Francisco and said that he is an excellent choice for Student of the Month. He is an absolute joy to have in his class. He is one of the most respectful students that he has had in his 25 years of teaching. That's a big deal. Not only is he respectful, but he works very hard in class. He takes great pride in his work, and if he doesn't understand something, he takes the initiative to ask questions. When we are having discussions, Francisco is always willing to volunteer in the discussions. Francisco is just truly a fantastic student and is a blessing to have in class. Again, he is a very deserving student. And then we have Miss Kennedy says that his hard work and dedication shows in the classroom. He's always willing to help others and works really hard to get assignments done. He is respectful to teachers and other students and willing to ask questions when he does not understand. He is always in a good mood, which spreads to others at his table. And then we talked, and Francisco's favorite subject is also math. He likes to problem solve and figure out long equations. Once again, don't get it. Francisco wants to be a policeman so that he can help his community, and this speaks highly of his character as well. So these are wonderful, wonderful students of the month.
All right, it's time for the super sophomores from the high school. And tonight we've got Paris Spigner and we've got Riley Jones. I'm going to talk about Paris first. She's been a Mineola ISD student since the 8th grade. She's involved in varsity volleyball where she plays libero for our undefeated 7-0 Lady Jackets. In the spring, she'll compete in track where she runs 100 and 200. She tells me her favorite subject is English. But her favorite teacher is Miss Holmes because she makes math interesting. It's not boring. She said her teachers, when they talk about her, call her a rock star. Says she has a beautiful sense of humor, always doing what she's supposed to, rises above the occasion under pressure. She's eager to help others and a joy to be around. And when she's not in school, she loves hanging out with family and friends. Paris Spigner. Now I have Riley Jones. Riley has been here since the 2nd grade, but he did have an experience where he went to the big city for about a semester. And he said, I don't ever want to go back. Thank goodness for Mineola, America. Riley's involved in our 4 club, and he's the vice president of the sophomore class. He says his favorite subject is probably HVAC. He doesn't plan a career in it, but said he already has learned so many things that will help him as a homeowner one day. He said as a teacher, he probably likes Miss Martin in Spanish. He kind of feels like they're going through similar experiences. She's in her 2nd year here working on getting better at her craft, and he's learning a brand new language that only gets better with time and practice. Pretty smart, huh? His teachers describe him as one of the most charismatic people in the school. Friends with everyone, a great student with a great attitude. He's described as a hard worker who's respectful to others and fun to have in class. When he's not in school, he loves hanging out with the older generation. He said he learns a lot from the wisdom of those folks, which in itself is wisdom. He loves to fish when he has time. He loves action movies from the 80s and 90s. Really likes the Star Wars film. Riley Jones. Paris Spigner, Riley Jones, super sophomores, Mineola High School. Yeah, that's what I'm talking about.
Yes, you have to stand up here, Miss Mary. You have to stand up here. Okay, this is our Miss Mary. She's been here for over 10 years. Don't ask me exactly how many, because I don't remember. She come when I come, I think, as director. She's worked in both kitchens. She'll do anything you want her to do. And Miss Sarah said she worked circles around her when they had the band hall grand opening over there. So Miss Mary does anything. Yeah, I mean, she don't complain. She is my best worker. And she's retiring at the end of this year. So now we're sad. But that's our Miss Mary.
This certificate.
Yes, you did that.
Thank you.
One more from Farm Bureau. And she can get you whatever you want to. The Farm Bureau, we just like to say thank you for everything that you guys do.
Jessica's teacher is. I'm just kidding. I worked for a principal before that told me when you get to know the secretary of your school, you get to know the heartbeat of your school. And that could not be more true for Jessica. I'm not going to cry. Just talking to teachers this past week about what Jessica means to our school, the words that we hear are fun, loving, hardworking, supportive, always willing to lend a helping hand. There's just not enough to describe what she means to our campus and what she does for our teachers and our parents day in and day out. Parents call and ask for her specifically because I want to talk to Jessica, which hurts Lanice's feelings sometimes, but she'll be fine. I'm just so blessed to have such a wonderful, tremendous asset on our campus, and I could not be more proud to recognize her tonight for all the hard work that she does for our school. So, Jessica Bryant.
Again, as a team member, same thing. We just can't thank you enough.
Each year, the month of October is set aside to honor our principals to recognize the pivotal role they play in the lives of students, families, faculty, and staff. Inexhaustible devotion helps to secure a better, brighter tomorrow by investing in the children of today. And at this time, I encourage all Texans to learn more about the many contributions and accomplishments of primary, elementary, middle, and high school principals across the state. Principals create cultures of excellence wherein students can achieve their full potential, thereby ensuring that Texas's future will be better and brighter for all. And this is a statement from Governor Greg Abbott. He does hereby proclaim October 2022 to be Principals Month in the state of Texas and urge the appropriate recognition thereof. And so tonight we want to take that opportunity to recognize our campus principals and assistant principals. As a superintendent, I learned very quick that you're only as good as your campus leadership. It's driving those campuses and working with those students and working with our teachers. And if you look at the statistics, all the research says to have a student be successful, it takes a great classroom teacher. And then right behind that is a great leader of the campus. And so tonight we have an opportunity to recognize them. I believe we put together a championship team here at Mineola ISD with our principals and our sister principals. And I want to share with you this quote of what champions do. And this is different from a lot of other folks. Championship level individuals are very uncommon in today's world because here's what they don't care about. They don't care about the time that's required to get a job done. They don't care about inconvenience. They don't care about distractions that may come up. They simply want to be successful and have the people that are underneath them be successful. They love to compete and they love to get better. And that's who our team is that leads our campuses. And so, in honor of Appreciation Month for our campus principals, I want to recognize this group. So if our campus principals and APs, if y'all would come in here real quick, we got a plaque for you to give. I'll recognize this group. We will start at our primary campus. Ms. Jolie Ray, campus principal. Mr. James Navenshoe, assistant principal at our primary. At our elementary campus, Ms. Brittany Thompson and her wonderful assistant, Ms. Angela Shine. At our middle school, Ms. Kendall Gould is middle school principal. Joshua Snook is assistant principal. And at our high school, Mr. Mike Sorensen is principal and Melissa Foster is assistant principal. Thank you for the work that you do. We appreciate it.
I love the comment about how we like to compete.
Just a little bit.
A little competitive.
There's some truth to that.
Compete so well, we cheat at games, on homecoming, at rallies.
Thank you, sir. Appreciate it.
James right there. Thank you, Dr. Abbott.
Thank you. Dr. Abbott, jump in that one.
Here. I got you. I got you. Oh. Make sure you have it the right way.
Thank you.
Y'all smile big. One more. Awesome. Thank y'all very much.
Okay, you're welcome.
Yes. Thank you. Okay, I'll get it to you. I'll get it to you. Thank you. Hi, Angela Shine.
Todd Morrison.
Thanks.
What's up? I see you every morning.
Whoa! Keeping it nice? Yeah.
Good to see you again.
Thank you.
I should have took a picture for that.
No one wants to stay for the bar and stuff. I don't blame them though.
We moved back on about a year ago. Dow Chemical that I work for, they retired. We gave them back to let me go.
That's just happy. Yeah. You know what?
Reagan used to have a Oh, I'm sorry, Tom. No problem, man. Me and Rob are reminiscing. Reagan took me to a house. Reagan had his open concept.
John tried to tell her I did 2 years of that. I'm like, really?
But in the back.
You get in some points.
Yeah.
He said, well, more for me than you.
Were you on the hot seat?
How are you doing? I'm good. Sitting down with Jacqueline last weekend at the
both sides.
baseball game.
Don't worry, they won't ask me.
No hard question.
I've already, I probably want to go back up there.
Have a great evening. We'll see you tomorrow.
Thank you so much.
You're welcome. Thank you.
No hard question.
That's a great crew here.
Oh, yeah, that's my good to see you. Good to see you, Rod. Good to see you, brother. Appreciate you. Thank y'all.
Here we go.
Okay. Item G is to consider information and action items from executive session. I don't think there were.
We have the one item, which is the addition to the multi-hazard emergency operations plan.
Okay. Is there a, you need a motion?
Yes, sir.
Okay. We need a motion to approve the emergency addition.
Approve the MISD memorandum of understanding, sheltering and mass care facilities.
Is there a second? Thank you. All those in favor? Thanks. Okay, Mr. Bjork.
We're going to go down to the very last page and see how we ended up.
Thank you.
I'm glad that our money doesn't move very fast. See those three columns to the right, local maintenance and designated? That's how we started out September 1st, and those are up to 7.6 million. For the month of September, we wound up with 8.6 million. And the biggest reason for that is I told you TEA owed us money for last school year. We got paid on the 30th, just right over $550,000. And that's up $341,000 from where we were this time last year. Now see if you can find the construction. I wanted to talk a little about our trust that we have our scholarships in. As y'all know, the stock market just keeps down and down and down. And our trust we've had a long time, like with Wilson, the English, the Peacock, they're holding their own pretty good, weathering the storm. But the brand new one we just set up last year, the TJC Promise, is kind of bit into the principal right now until we start pulling out of this economy sludge we're in. And one thing I wanted to show you, I forgot last night, we talked about the construction account. I wanted to show you August and September and what happened. We got all of our money in from bond on August the 8th. From the 8th to the end of August, we earned $30,873 for August. Now, we'll go to the next page for September. The whole month of September, we earned $70,000. A little over $101,000, which is really going to help us a lot since the cost of building materials is up. We're going to need that. So hopefully between now and whenever we do start, we'll earn a good bit more money. Interest rates are still rising. I looked the other day, it was already a little over 2.5%.
So what was the expense on the August?
We've been doing not the construction work, but the engineer fees. We've been paying those. Do I have any questions about any of that?
I think so.
Now, in the tax report, September, statements had no now, so we didn't collect anything for current taxes. All we collected was delinquent taxes. That 21,000 there, you see, that's all we collected. We had 0 for current taxes and 0.32 for delinquents that we collected. And as statements have gone out, we've already started collecting taxes for local maintenance and for the first time in many a year, interest in sinking, like making our bond payments. And you're supposed to say,
I thought we did.
Now the attendance report. We're down, but just a little bit. Our attendance, you know, it counts a lot. Enrollment counts, but that attendance really counts. We really need to be up above 97 in my opinion. We're doing, you know, fairly well with 96s, but we need to get that on up there because that really pays off at the end of the school year.
Sure.
In dollars.
I had a question on the 3rd and 5th grade. On, like, it went to 125 3rd grade down to 103 and 102 5th grade up to 126 on their enrollment. So I didn't know if those might be like, do you see those?
Probably.
Because the total number's the same,
yeah,
but
I wouldn't have changed that much in the
I didn't think we gained like 10 kids in 5th grade, but I just wanted to check.
It wasn't like a big promotion.
Okay. That's what, and I'm like, because nobody asked for a teacher, so. And I totally would be.
They're coming tomorrow.
Just double checking.
Yeah.
Jessica's gonna be real busy in August.
Yeah. She would have been crying.
Anything else? All right, thank you. Okay, Mr. Thompson, you're on. Sure.
Thank you, Dr. Emmett and board. Cody, we are excited about what we've got to bring to you tonight. I have obviously Ed Snodgrass, our civil engineer, and Glenn Cowart, our TIA, traffic impact analysis guru. So we've got some good reports back on the soil conditions. I think the terminology was some of the best soils they've seen in a long time. So we drilled, I think, 20 some odd borings across the site and had quite a difficult time getting the logs out of the way. Had to employ with Jackson and get dozers out there. They broke a track on the dozer and then they broke the track on the drilling rigs. But long story short, the reports came back. We've got some very good PI soils. We're not looking at any deep piers. We're looking at shallow footings, which is good news from a standpoint of construction costs. And obviously, you know, construction costs are continuing to go up. So we have worked diligently with Ed and Ed's engineers to determine the finished floor elevation, which obviously translates to the sanitary sewer, because we're having a gravity-fed sanitary sewer system in. We will not have a lift station. And we have also worked with Glenn and Ed both on the layout of the site design, and feel like we've come up with a very, very successful solution. As you know, we met with the city officials and we met with the board and discussed several opportunities, several options. Had input from Cody and everyone involved with regard to how the traffic patterns needed to work and how they needed to operate. And we've determined that because of the fact that Shady Lane has some issues with left turning off onto Highway 37, as well as the cost of that not being any help there, as well as trying to turn down the alleyway behind the existing city utility department, having to widen the bridge and some other issue, or not widen, but support the bridge that's not adequate at this point. We have talked with Glenn. We've come up with a entrance and exits off of Loop 564, so we feel very confident about that. I've got that here in a 24 by, or 30 by 42 format that I'd like to present to the board to take a look at. I don't know if everyone has seen this, but the traffic impact analysis, set that, you still don't want to knock anybody's water over or anything. The traffic impact analysis, Glenn, I'll get you to come up real quick and kind of give us a synopsis of that. I don't want to take the entire rest of the night. But
yeah, what we have
I have it,
necessarily
right.
going through that at his own level of effort that you want to
Yeah,
pursue it.
Unless we've got questions, I didn't want to.
Right, or if you had anything else on the screen besides this, but
No.
basically what we have identified is a full functioning driveway on the east side of the property. So that would have, all movements, left turns in and out, right turns in and out, off of 564. Our more westerly driveway is identified really as an exit only. So we'll have right turns and left turns leaving the property from this particular facility. And then, through the traffic study, of course, kind of like the soils, we found some really good traffic out there. But essentially, we did capacity analysis. We backed up, we looked at the existing cars that were out there. We applied a historical growth factor to the existing traffic. Okay, so we bumped that up to where we think the traffic will be. I think we used the year 2027 as our design year. From that traffic, we then modeled what the school is anticipating in terms of student population, staff, and other individuals that would be on campus at any given time. We then applied that to the existing counts that we had inflated for future traffic. So that gave us an overall traffic volume. Then the game is identifying where these cars are coming from and how they're going to enter our facility and then how they're going to leave the facility. Within our report, you can see where we did the percent distributions for each of those. It's kind of a tough call. We do have, some tools, our discretion, looking at, of course, existing traffic patterns. We're also looking at the zip code, the area with respect to your boundary, your school boundary. Okay, so so we utilize that to try to identify how many people are coming from the west, how many coming in from the east, and we applied that to each of these driveways. And then we can use our modeling, run a capacity analysis. Really, we don't have any problems with vehicles exiting 564. The only movement that is a small concern is what I'll call at the main entrance, your northbound left. So people leaving the facility that exit to the left, and that typically that's going to be your slowest movement, trying to get out of the facility with cars still, maneuvering 564 the way they do. So,
But at peak load, you were seeing.
at peak load, we're expecting like a 12 to 15 car queue a minute. 130 seconds of delay, which is it actually categorizes what we call a level service F, but for an exiting driveway scenario, that's not uncommon at all. And particularly what we're talking about is that unique 15-minute peak hour of the day. It just kind of is what it is. But at the same time, we have additional ample capacity at this other driveway. With the breakdown, we were still at level B and C for the people leaving this other driveway. So in the end, people are going to do a certain amount of adjustment on their own once they realize, hey, wait, I'm sitting in too long of a queue if I want to leave out of this driveway. I think Perry anticipates the opportunity to have people come around and exit here, even though they dropped off at the more northern drop-off location.
And one thing I'll point out is the right-hand deceleration lane that was required in the initial conversations. And then the next thing is the double stacking for the vehicular drop-off. So we have the ability to double stack on a bypass to the vehicular and turn into a single lane at this point in time. So that's available. We also have the bus lane drop off, as well as when we talked about the possibility of these 15 stacking, they have the opportunity to come down and come behind and come across. We also, at a future date, have the ability to still connect with these turnouts to Shady Lane at such a point, if that ever becomes a situation with that.
So as far as major recommendations or conclusions, the right turn lane is an absolute necessity, and you also are going to have a left turn lane in at this particular driveway.
Which is,
I don't anticipate, it looks like it would be nothing more than a restriping of 564 to accommodate that, the pavement width's there.
we're talking about the center aisle of 564 being a left-hand turn to slow down the lane.
And it's already that really on either end of the project anyway, and so I'm certain, I intended to, and I haven't researched to find out in TxDOT, but I know they would have built those shoulders
wide enough to take care of that.
well, the pavement strength to be there.
Yeah.
Will there not be any traffic lighting up there on 564?
That'll be up to TxDOT. We've discussed it with them. Their scenario said they want to see what the TIA came back with, traffic impact analysis that Glenn has put together. They want to review that. The reason this says this says draft on it is we need board approval to move forward and send it to TxDOT for their final approval reviews. So
Well, does that include a request, or are you just sending them?
we're just sending them
information.
They required a TIA before they would review and approve or disapprove.
Really, yeah, for the permit, the
For the
driveway
permit
permits.
drives. You can't get the driveway permits without that. Without the driveway permits, you can't get the address for the school. So, kind of where we're.
So on the main entrance, you said it was a level F.
Only on the northbound left turn movement.
So what's the worst?
Yeah.
F's not the worst.
No, F is the worst.
F is the worst.
F
But that's for.
F is the worst.
Out.
But those, you kind of have to take a little bit with a grain of salt in terms of, one, it's not the overall intersection level of service. It is that movement's level of service. Those are based off, in the report, I found it, those are based off of seconds of delay. So a level of A is from like 0 seconds of delay to like 20 or 30, maybe 20 seconds. And then you go to B, so you got 20, so a single car, 20 seconds of delay, and then it's multiplying. So if you got 2 cars waiting 20 seconds, well, that's 40 seconds of vehicular delay, which would trigger you into a level of service.
I think I can put some context into that. So right now, we have the exact same situation at the primary school right now. But it's worse because you're dumping 2 campuses worth of kids out one exit. And we see what it looks like every day. If anybody needs to refresher on that. So you're taking a good chunk of that away with this campus. So it's going to be less than what we're seeing every day in primary school. That's how.
And it's only for 20 minutes in the morning, and
That's right.
it's not for 12 hours a day. It's for 15, 20 minutes. Then you're cutting it in half.
Probably.
It
So,
don't seem like 12 hours, some of the parents.
well,
And again, that's based on our assumption of how many cars are going to turn left in the first place, our percentage breakdown. And, with that location, I have an anticipation that many people, once they are sitting in a queue, if we provide a correct link to our right turn lanes,
Yes.
pull it back there, that it sort of equal that queue of 10 or 12 cars long. Now, if you're in a 12-car queue, you may make the decision, you know what, I'm going to go up here and make a right turn.
That's what's going to happen.
That's what's going to
After
happen.
the first couple
And
of weeks.
then that basically solves all the number problems.
That solves the
That
issue,
reduces
definitely.
all the concern right there. Just no real way to model that or anticipate what we're going to do.
All the way
But you know
around.
they will.
So, that concludes what I have to bring to you today. We are working, we have the updated floor plan behind here. We are working with Jackson to get, an updated preliminary design final budget numbers. And introduce the structure. So we got all of this on a flat top plate. So you can send it out to the boardroom.
I'm not going to see this over there.
This is a larger copy of what we did. I will address one other topic that I touched on, but we have great soil conditions on site. If you're looking at the site, you'll notice that the water tower is up in the far northwest corner. Just to the south and to the east of the water tower, there's a pretty good gradient, a pretty good hillside there. We have some grading that we're going to have to bring fill in on the lower portion, because obviously this is a long building. So our intentions, and we have them drill a location for soil conditions, our intention is to pull that dirt hillside down and bring it towards the building and use it for select fill. The geotechnical engineer has indicated that we have an extremely good solution to the issue. So that is again, not having to bring any site, fill site, which is another reason for doing that. But we looked at we put in, and I think you'll see it in the TIA, I've got a full-sized track and field over there that it's not in our budget, it's not in anything we're doing, but we have the ability to put that in at a future date with different funds and different monies as needed. But one thing Ms. Rainey had asked for was a walking track, so good location for that.
So when we originally talked, we were talking about a lift station.
That's correct.
But we don't have to because of the grade from, is it coming from up here by the water tower?
No, sir, it's coming from Shady Lane.
Okay.
So what we're doing is we're bringing all of our plumbing over and down the main, and then it'll be, the tap will be here and then run off there. There's a big swell or low spot, if you will, right in here. So when we were over on this side, we were having to cross that low spot, and we were, what, 8 or 10 feet out of the ground? It just, unless we wanted to put an aqueduct.
Yeah.
So.
We could have placed a fill there, but it was really expensive.
Yeah.
To fill up all that area. And not get any use out of it except to provide cover over a pipe. Okay. Yeah, we're still going to be moving a lot of dirt. There's going to be potentially a, 8 to 9 foot cut up against that water tower, and it's going to be placed over. It's just going to be a big mass move of dirt over.
To level out.
We're looking at ways to potentially lower it a little bit, but it's still. I mean, it's got a lot of terrain on site, so we're just going to have to kind of work with it a little bit. Our biggest issue, the reason I can't just lower it is because we'll get too low to where we can't sewer into
Can't get it out
Shady
quickly.
Lane. And so I've got to keep it up. Basically, what I did was I worked backwards from Shady Lane invert elevation that I know and went at the minimum slope, give him about 4 or 5 feet of depth at the building so that he can plumb everything inside, and said, okay, well, that's my finished floor. And I looked at it and went, well, shoot. Okay, I'm going to generate dirt. And so then I started looking at cutting there. I haven't done it yet, but we've got a lot going on, and we're looking at different ways to lower it, but it kind of is what it is, building on that hill.
Every foot we can lower it, the better off we are, obviously, for budget numbers. So, not without getting into too much detail, but Ed had an excellent solution to go ahead and get a ground penetrating radar to find out how deep that is in case it drops. Talking about the sewer line from Shady Lane headed back towards 37. If we get more gradient there, we might be able to pull back a couple of 100 feet and save a foot or half to of dirt here.
Yeah,
So
the problem is right now the surveyor tied in, and I trust him. They tied in the invert elevation, which is kind of hard to do on a cleanout because they're set at 45s, but just using basic trig you can. But he says, I mean, that's really shallow. So if I can go 100 feet down Shady Lane and it's, if Shady Lane, for example, is running at a 2% and I can dig down and find that sewer and drop it down at a 0.5% coming down, then who knows, maybe I gain a couple of feet. Well, that's a couple of feet of dirt that I can, reduce.
yeah, over
So-
70,000 square feet plus additional
Other
paving, parking lot, grade,
yes.
yeah, handicap ramps, so on and so forth, all that
We're
other
looking
stuff.
at other solutions, but anyway.
So it looks like there's 160 parking places. How many do we have now? Over there.
It's a great question.
It's a good question, I don't know.
We have total, chief, that's right.
Never had to count those.
I'm just curious.
Good question.
Because I guess this is all the parking, right?
No, sir, we have some back here as well.
Oh, okay.
Yeah.
Okay.
Drive across the building.
It's definitely enough for staff. It's not like Aaron and I just got overflow.
Yeah.
That's what we have now.
But we've got wide enough parking, we can parallel across the need. Yeah, certainly.
Those roads are double lane though. You got a double.
And you'll notice on the, okay, so
Yeah, you got parking.
to touch base real quickly on, just try to close your ears for a minute. I don't know. You'll notice that there is opportunity for future growth. That's one of the reasons the main road is the location it is, so that we can still have growth. But in the plan set, we'll submit this as the final plan set, but we will have alternate deducts available. An example, an alternate deduct for a classroom, second grade classroom, if we have to come back into budget, we'll have those numbers available for us, for the board to look at as well. We all know budget numbers are going crazy right now. We've seen 30% increase over the last, since December. And so my gut tells me that that's gonna come right back into check, but, you know, I don't have my glass crystal ball. So I have to prepare for the worst and expect the worst, and we'll work from there. But Jackson has been extremely helpful with regard to one of the systems that we're required to have is a shelter, tornado shelter. So Jackson has recommended that we investigate what's called ice block, this Fox block systems that was used at Van. So we had about a 3.5-hour seminar on that the other day, 2 weeks ago, and with the structural engineer and our staff, and found that to be a very viable system for this as far as expense is concerned. Now, we're not going to specifically give Fox blocks the number. We're going to specify a ice block system. Basically, it's a foam core. Everybody knows what a HADOT block looks like, or a CMU block. This is made out of foam, and you pour the foam cells with concrete, but it also holds the rebar. The form is a plastic form with polyiso on the outside, and you stick the rebar in it. Really, really good system. It's been around for several years. Matter of fact, the company that I think that made Igloo was one of the first. But long story short, we've got some real good information on that, and that, according to Jackson, is definitely the way to go, without a doubt. So.
Don't you have to have a special concrete for that?
No, not special concrete, but a special installer.
A special mix.
Yeah, there is a special mix for it, but we also have to have special designer, a special installer as well.
Yeah.
So, which is, there's several. There's not just one individual.
Yeah.
I think there's 8 or 9 in the Dallas area alone. So then Jackson felt like it would be no problem for them to come out. The way they were doing it, they were showing us putting up a building this size within about a week and a half. So it was pretty impressive. And that's all. I know everybody's got other stuff to do tonight.
Well, the third grade, it just has six classrooms. The third grade.
Third grade?
With 6 classrooms. Is it not better to expand now than, I know what you said. But
yes, sir. Cost-wise, it is.
Okay.
It'll be, well, again, I don't have a crystal ball, but you're correct. Construction prices aren't going to go down.
Right.
Hopefully, will become in check. They'll check, but they're not going to go below what they were. The answer is yes. The difference being, we need to maximize our potential with the ability to save the district money and let the district tell us where the money needs to go to. So that's one of the reasons that we're trying to spend every waking moment that we can to try to figure out ways to reduce cost and work with Jackson on that. And the good news about an alternate deduct is it gives the board the opportunity to make the decisions. We want to take this, we don't want to take that, we want to take this. Obviously, the same would be held true with an alternate addition, an add alternate. You could do and say, well, we want to add 3 more classrooms. If they're only $6,000 or $60,000 a piece, we want to add 3 more. So it gives you the option to do that at that point in time. So
probably still too early.
Still too early just yet. That'll really kind of come within the next month to find out exactly what their breakdowns are. Questions? Comments?
So not we need to approve the traffic plan.
The traffic impact analysis, I would approve a motion to have Glenn complete his work, and that will allow me to move forward and get back with Preston at TxDOT and provide them with his report, and at that point in time, we'll be able to get a timeline on when they can give us approved permitting for the driveways.
I'll make a motion
to do that.
What you said?
That we approve Glenn Civil Engineer.
And get back with Perry as soon as he finds out.
If anybody,
We'll second what Perry said, as long as Glenn agrees.
is anybody taking my notes? Somebody's got to take a note. Thank you.
Regardless.
Is that good for you?
It don't matter to me, I finished it regardless.
We could just put them in and then tell TxDOT we're building a school over there. I mean, what are they gonna do?
Now we gotta have a driveway.
Yeah.
Could you go to our next meeting with us?
Yeah, I sure will.
And do the same motion. You bet. Any other discussion?
No.
I think we're good. All those in favor? Thank you. Whew. I think we have a school in a driveway that goes on the loop. Thank y'all. Okay, Ms. Pecorino.
Does he need these?
I think he made a copy of
We keep.
Good evening, y'all.
Hey.
I was asked to come and present the Spanish 1 and Spanish 2 credit by exam, and what that is, if you don't know, is high school students, 8th grade students can take the Spanish 1 exam, so they would be exempt or receive high school credit once they pass that exam with an 80% or higher. And then the Spanish 2, Region 7 usually offers that, but we wanted to make it closer to home, and so I searched on TEA's rules, and it says as long as I can get the board to approve the created test that I did, then that would be acceptable. So I wrote in here everything that it has to have, that it covers all the accessible TEKS, which I did. I went through the current Spanish 1 and Spanish 2 books that we have, and I created the test from that. Also presented that to Dr. Abbott last year, since I know he knows a little bit of Spanish. And then, of course, it's not publicly available. And then we evaluated it. I had both the Spanish 1 and Spanish 2 teachers actually take it, like field test it. And so they could tell me, was that stuff that they covered in their classrooms, which it was. So we kind of just did that for that. So it says that we have to make public the annual report, which includes the test development process and all of that. So here's the certification we have to do. That I certify that it covers all TEKS. It's not been published. It will only be administered in a secure environment, which it was last year. And it's been evaluated, which we did. So then we would have y'all vote on that and then approve it. And then this last one is the credit by exam report that I have to present to you every year. It shows the test development process, that it was from the textbooks, and examples from proficiency educational websites. So I did actually go to Texas Tech, UT Austin, different websites like that to cover that, and I used guidance from the test from Region 7 in order to build the speaking and writing domains for that. And then we have listening, speaking, reading, writing. All 4 domains are tested on there. And then the certification just says that it does cover all the TEKS, and there is last year's who took, how many took and how many passed. So the total examinees in Spanish 1, there were 16 8th graders that took it. A couple were 9th graders that hadn't had Spanish 1 yet. And then 14 of them scored 70%. 13 of them scored 80%, so they did obtain that high school credit for Spanish 1. And the average score for all examinees was an 84% for Spanish 1. In Spanish 2, the total examinees, we had 7. So those 7 students would have to, if we did not have this, they would have to travel with their own transportation to Region 7 to take this 5-hour test and then have transportation home. And so this is why we were trying to develop this, so that we could advocate for those students. They can get ahead this way. And then they can take other classes since they are knowledgeable in this, so they could have their CTE and their other classes they really need because they're already fluent in Spanish. So 4 of those scored 70% or higher. 3 of them scored 80%. Those are the ones that passed, and the average was a 75%. That Spanish 2 test is a booger. It's a pretty tough test to take.
So the 4 that didn't pass will have to take
They will
the
have
class,
to, yes, ma'am, they will have to take the Spanish 2 class.
and they can only take the exam once
Mhm.
to take the.
To get credit,
get
yes,
credit.
ma'am. Yeah, because usually if they do, then if they don't pass, then they immediately go into that high school Spanish 2 or whatever. That way they're not lagging behind on their credits. So, yes, ma'am, and then Miss.
Actually, it's a state requirement that if you fail a credit by exam test, you automatically have to go into the
class, yeah.
That shows that you're not ready.
Right. Thank you. Do y'all have any questions? Okay.
Pretty much from last year.
Yeah, it's just
the
last year, so we
results
just
now.
have to sign off on it saying that you all approve that test is fine, that they don't have to go to Region 7 and do it that way. Okay.
Thank you. Is there a motion to that effect? Mr. Morgan?
I'll motion it.
Thank you. Second by Mrs. Etheridge. All those in favor? Thanks. Okay, career and technical pathways, ag mechanics and welding.
So, Mrs. Foster and I wanted to give you just a quick update about a change we're anticipating for next school year regarding CTE programming, particularly the welding and the ag mech programs. So for the benefit of our newer board members, just give you a little bit of background. We've had a lot of changes in career and technical education over the past few years, and it is heavily tied to accountability for our school district. So they want all students to be college and career ready by the time they graduate, and how they gauge that is through what they call students earn a CCMR credit. So there are different ways that they can earn CCMR credits. You want to go over that part?
So they can actually earn a CCMR credit, and we realize that all kids are ready for post-secondary success, but this is the guidelines that the state has given us to go by. So for college ready, it's taking the TSI, the ACT, the SAT, taking dual credit classes, taking college prep math and college prep English classes, and they have specific requirements that they have to do in those. They brought back military enlistment now as an option. Several years ago that had gone away, but now we can actually use that whenever a student actually goes to MEPS and brings back a specific form for us to use. We can code them as being military ready. And then with our CTE program, and that's actually changing a little bit with some laws that is coming across from the state, where they're going to have a complete program of study and be completing an industry-based certification that the state has deemed aligned to that program of study. So it's going to make it very specific to each program of study. Some of the certifications, there may only be one for each program of study. So it's going to make it a little more harder for us to keep up with the accountability piece for that.
So our goal is that every student that graduates gets a CCMR credit. So again, the different ways you can do that, you can take a certain number of dual credit courses. You can enlist in the military, and the military recruiter has to give us a document which is uploaded to the state as proof that they've enlisted. You have to meet a baseline criteria in the ACT, SAT, or TSI, or you have to earn an industry-based certification in a program of study through CTE. So as far as funding, we really have 3 buckets of money that we draw from for career technical courses. The first one is our state funding, which is basically, y'all have heard of ADA, average daily attendance. We get a certain amount of money for each student that is in attendance each day. For CTE, they get weighted funding, which means if they're sitting in a CTE course, they get additional money on top of that average daily attendance. And that money depends on the level of course that they're taking in CTE. So that's the primary way we get funding. We also apply each year for a federal grant, which is called the Carl Perkins Grant. Usually it's about, I think this year it's around maybe 30,000, somewhere in that neighborhood. But we have to fill out a grant application, and as always, if you take federal funds, you have to follow certain guidelines, and you can only spend that in certain ways. So, and then the third way that we get money for CTE programs is we allow students from other districts to attend our courses. Welding is one of those courses. What else do I? HVAC. So currently Grand Saline and Alba are sending students to us, and basically we get $2,100 a year for those students. It's $800 a semester plus a $500 building usage fee per student.
But they get the weighted funding as well.
We do not get the weighted funding on
We don't?
Grand Saline and Alba kids. We just get, that's how they pay us from their funds. Okay? So, CTE and accountability, you want to talk a little bit about this? The completer and concentrator?
So this is kind of the new direction that they're taking us for accountability, is they're really focusing on that completer status. And what that means is we have to ensure that the kids have 3 or more courses and are earning 4 or more credits in an aligned program of study. So before, the state kind of let us determine what a program of study was, and as long as it made sense, we could run with it. And now they've come back and streamlined all of that and said, you have, like, for animal science, you can pick from these certain classes, and we want to see kind of a level 1, a level 2, a level 3, and a level 4 class. And so what they have done with that is then now they've come back with the completer status, and then a level below that is the concentrator status, which is less credits and less courses. And then they have an explorer status, which just means the student has even less CTE classes.
For accountability purposes, their basic goal is once a kid picks a program of study or a track like HVAC, welding, ag, business, they want them to stay in it. Try to keep them in there all 4 years. That's why we do so much marketing in middle school and with our 8th graders to try to really have those CTE programs come down there, have the kids come up to the high school and see them. We really want to make sure they know what they're getting into. We do allow them to change up through the beginning of their sophomore year. That if they change after their freshman year, it would still allow them to get that concentrator or possibly completer status. So even if they take a program of study, say in HVAC, they can take a random class a lot of times outside of their program of study if it's something they might be interested in.
The sampler platter, a little of this.
Yeah, as long as they are in one program of study and they can fit it in their schedule. Like, for example, they might be in the health science track, but they want to take an ag mech class. You know, if it fits their schedule, if they have the room to do that, they can do that, but they've got to be in a program of study. Okay? So our current situation, back to welding and ag mechanics, we do offer a full program of study in welding currently. And those are the 4 years. So in the first year, they would take Principles of Ag, second year, Intro to Welding, then Welding 1 and Welding 2, and those are both double block classes. They take the D11 and the D91 certifications, and those are approved industry-based certifications, so you can get a CCMR credit by earning those certifications. Now, we do co-seat those classes with the ag classes for, you want to kind of talk about the scheduling and how you work that out?
So as long as, so every one of those classes has the TEKS that have to be covered for each one. And so as long as the teacher agrees that they can cover the TEKS for both classes, it's allowable that we can say that we are teaching both classes in the same time frame. So what we essentially do right now is the Intro to Welding class, and the kids get that in Ag Met, because the teacher agrees that they can cover both sets of TEKS, because there's a lot of overlap between the two. There is a little bit of difference between, but the teacher ensures us that they can cover both sets and meet all of those requirements.
So currently, our welding program is a full welding program of study. We have about, 10 or so kids coming from other districts to that program, taught by a welding industry professional. And our ag is not currently a program of study for ag mechanics, but we overlap those classes with our welding classes. So all of the kids that want to build ag mech projects and participate in ag mech are able to do that.
After hours?
Not necessarily. Some of them overlap with the welding classes, and they come over.
And Welding 1 and Welding 2 are not out in our classes, right?
No,
No.
ag mech and ag fab are.
All right, the certification that we're looking for, that we're working toward, is it different?
No.
Okay.
So our plan to do next year is to run, and we spent a lot of time with Carrie Bowles in Region 8, and this was her suggestion. So Carrie is a Region 8 CTE specialist. It does not serve our students well to get rid of the welding program. It does serve our students well to run them both concurrently. So what our plan to do next year is to have an ag mechanics program of study. The reason we haven't done this before is we didn't think the two practicum classes, which is the fourth year class, could overlap, but she says it absolutely can. So we would create an ag mech program of study, which would run concurrently with the welding program, and those kids would be in the shop at the same time, and those teachers would share those kids. So all of those kids actually get double credits. They get an ag mech credit and a welding credit at the same time. So it's really the best of both worlds. They can learn industrial welding, ag mech, they can work on projects for those that want to, and they can still get their certifications. We met with the ag teacher, Mr. Winters, and our welding teacher, and they had already discussed it and worked it out, and that's the program that they want to do. They want to run them concurrently. So it's really the best of both worlds for our kids, and at the end of the day, we want to do what's best for the kids.
So the way we have it set up this year too is the last year and the year before, the several years in the past, we've not had a strong ag mech teacher that's been willing to do some of the projects because we've had health issues with one of the teachers and then other obligations for previous teachers. So this year we feel like we have the right people in the right place to provide those opportunities. And the seniors that are in the practicum classes or 2-period classes, so what they're doing, we have one that's in animal science, in the practicum of ag class for actual animal science. So the teacher for animal science is keeping him for one period of that block and then sending him to Mr. Winters for the second period so he can work on the projects. And then we're doing the same thing for the one that is in, maybe two that's in actual welding class. They're doing the actual welding class for a period and then allowing them, when they're working on the projects, to go over there to Mr. Winters, because Mr. Winters has the ag mech and lower level classes at the same time that the welding 2 teacher has that. So there's an easy access to both programs going back and forth.
We would also, as part of this program, Carrie recommended that we locally certify our welding teacher to be an ag teacher and an FFA advisor, and he was agreeable to that.
So on these kids' transcripts that are doing both of these, they're going to show industrial welding and they're going to show ag mechanics both on the transcript.
Correct.
But we'll have an official program of study for ag mech.
When you say that, you're saying that's the same word as pathway?
Yes.
Yes.
It's the state's new word.
So will it be separate?
It-
Because CTE and Ag Mech, CTE's college ready. Ag Mech is somebody making a living teaching animal sciences and that type of stuff. Right now, they get a freshman and a sophomore class, right, of welding in ag, or choice of Ag Mech.
So their freshman class is principles of ag.
Mhm.
Now, that's a comprehensive class. That's not just ag mech.
That's intro
Yes.
to everything.
To
They get welding and,
to
yeah.
everything. And then their sophomore years when they start the actual
Shop
welding
class.
class.
Yeah.
Whether, and we're calling it, whether it looks like a semester of ag mech and a semester of intro to welding 1, or if it's the 2 running simultaneously, because they do have so much overlap, that they're getting both of those skills together. And the kids that want to be able to show have the prerequisite for the FFA program for that piece, and if they want to go that route, then they have that capability. We need a strong person in that sophomore and junior class to get the kids interested in welding, regardless of whether it's ag mech or the industry-based welding. And I think we've got that this year with Mason.
We do.
But the way it's set up right now is a junior and a senior. If they start their freshman year with the intro class, their sophomore year they go to Ag Mech 1 or whatever the title of it is. Their ag lane or ag direction, whatever, it stops. Pathway, thank you. It stops, and then they're forced to have to go to CTE direction with the industrial welding class.
No, because we already co-seat those kids.
Now they are.
They have been for the past several years.
But it's two different types of classes. They teach two different things in there.
Correct.
It's a career path of one direction. There's no fabrication, no nothing like that into the industrial side of it. The Ag Mech teaches more of shop setting, that type of stuff.
Right.
Some kids don't want the industrial, but they're
they don't have
forced,
to.
They're forced to go that direction if they want to continue welding, right?
No, because we will have an official program of study for Ag Mech now. So that
next year, that's what I'm talking. Next year, yes.
Go back to the one that was up there before.
So even this year,
See where it says over there, welding 1/ag structures? That's being added.
Yeah, and we'll add the what's the fourth year?
Practicum.
Yeah, practicum.
So
This is what we have this
so
year.
every kid,
What's on the left is correct.
every student this year that wants to participate in ag mechanics for FFA purposes has the ability to do that. There's only 3 seniors at this right now that want to be able to do that. And we've got it where all 3 of them have access to the ag mechanic side with Mr. Winters. And everybody else up there has access to both. The sophomores will get so much time with intro to welding and so much time in ag mech, so that those kids can make a determination about which way they want to go. And the same thing for welding 1 and welding 2. And we envision that as if, say, and I'll use my own child's name, Garrison decides, he starts out in this pathway and he's welding and he wants to go, then he can spend time with Mr. Hayes and go this way if he doesn't want to participate this way. And that's going to be where that partnership between Mr. Winters and Mr. Hayes comes from. Because the kids essentially in all of these classes are going to see the TEKs from both classes and both worlds. And if there's one kid that truly does not want to do one side or the other, then they can spend all of their time with Mr. Hayes or all of their time with Mr.
So when do they have to make that decision? Can they make it at any point along the way? So they can split it their first year, the second year, third year if they want to go.
Yeah, because there's so much overlap, they really can.
So.
But there may be kids that just want to do the ag mech side, fine, no problem. Kids that want to do the welding side, fine, no problem. But you might have kids that want to do both. And this allows them to do that. So it's a win-win. It's the best of both worlds.
And we've always done our best to make sure that any student that wants to be FFA eligible has that time and that place to do it. We've just needed the right people in the right place to help us with that.
Yeah, that's been a struggle.
Where it says welding 2 on the right, that's not the same welding 2 that's on the left. Because the one on the right's ag.
That's what we're doing this year for the ag mech kids, because we don't have an official program of study. Next year we'll have the ag.
Fourth year of ag mechanics.
Yes.
So all of the kids this year that we're working with, the 3 seniors, they're FFA eligible in other areas, and we're working with them to get them the shop time during the day. But then we also know for them to be able to be successful on those projects that take a tremendous amount of time that they are going to have to work before school and after school to be able to do that. Because next year, we should have more kids that are moving up into the program. Because you also have, the work program that competes with the kids about the ones that would rather go to work at Whataburger and McDonald's, that have the tendency to veer off to that path than stay in a CTE program. So that hurts our numbers sometimes too, and then we're having to make sure that we find them a one-period credit class like floral design or something like that, so they can remain FFA eligible, so they can participate in the FFA activities. So we take the consideration of what the students want and what their needs are, so that we can give them every opportunity.
Do we have a pathway for those kids in floral design or horticulture related classes?
We're actually looking at floral design program of study as well for next year.
It would be plant science, and we're going to have to, because the issue with the program of studies now is with the IBCs and making sure we have enough spaces in their schedules, the ag teacher schedules, to ensure that, because we would need to add another class to be able to have a full program of study for floral.
How many, we don't already?
We don't have a full, because we have 3 classes for 3 credits, and you have to have three classes for 4 credits.
But aren't we already not, I don't guess it's the IBC, but aren't we already doing certifications in floral design? It looks to me like we're not getting CCMR credit there that we could be getting.
We are getting that right now with the standards that are in place for right now, because right now they haven't changed the rules over that said about the IBCs, because we are getting those, because the current rules say as long as you have an IBC, then we get CCMR points for that. But the transition is going into, you have to have that aligned program of study with the matching IBC that they've determined which ones fit into each one. So that's where like OSHA 30 is going to go away, because they have determined that only certain places that fits into. And then now the state has actually said we can't offer OSHA 30 in the next 2 years, and it expires, our ability to be able to use that.
It is something we're looking into. That one problem we really have to think about, because we're a small district and we've got so many programs of study, you're only required to have one, and we've got quite a few. Every time you create a new one, you're taking students out of something else. So your numbers may go up in one, but they're going to go down in another one. So you don't want to get so many programs of study that cause you to have one that's got 4 or 5 students in it. It's not worth having a teacher for. So that's the balance.
Do we have an elected up there that has any more kids in it than the floral classes do?
It would surprise me.
Yeah. And we're already there. I mean, I don't see, you're saying we're looking at this. What do you think the chances are of us having a plant science pathway in the next year or so?
I think there's a pretty strong possibility.
So it's a conversation that we're having with Ms. Martinez about, because her schedule, as you know, Mr. Gossett, is very full with just that. So it's what are we going to give up with the other teachers so that we can put that in there? Because we're expecting that our practicum of ag, which is the animal science side, these kids, we're going to have more kids move up into that. So we can't co-seat over the top of that. And with Rocio's numbers already being so full in those floral classes, regular and advanced, we can't co-seat a practicum over that and add more kids to that. So it's going to have to be a standalone class after we do course requests, so we can even determine, I mean, if we have 2 kids say they want to complete that pathway, then y'all know that that's not good use of teacher time or our expenses or revenue for that.
And the added class is going to have to be a double block class to an already full schedule because the practicum is going to be a double block.
It could be that, or it could be a one credit class. It's just, we're just gonna have to look at it. But with the popularity of floral, and if some of those kids want that to be their pathway, we'll probably have to have multiple periods of that. Because I was looking at the advanced plant soil class, because it could count as a science class for the kids. So that would be something that I would be interested in exploring. But I've got to have Rocio's input. I've got to have the teacher's input of what I'm asking them to teach to make sure, because that, like a science class like that, would have labs and all kinds of things that I want their input before we just say, hey, you're teaching this.
Some of those animal science classes also serve as a
Yes,
active science.
the advanced animal science class does, yes, sir. So that class would be the best bang for our buck, because it would be helping kids get a science credit and their ag credit. But that's on my to-do list with going over all of those too, because we're also talking about, we offer the industrial maintenance, I think we call them industrial systems, about phasing that one out, because we just really haven't had the interest in it, and we don't currently offer any of the certifications that go along with it, so we're looking at phasing that one out completely.
So if someone's coming from Grant Saline or Alva, are
They're coming for welding.
They're strictly on
because they offer ag mech there. They're coming for welding. Every school district has an ag program and offers ag mech.
So I can speak to that, because my son goes to Grant Saline and he comes over. He came over last year and did the welding with Mr. Hazer, the junior, and he's over here as a senior this year, because he wants that experience with the actual industry-based welding. He did the ag welding at Grant Saline. He still participates to a certain extent over here, because we don't tell Grant Saline or Alva what to code their kids. They're coming over here for the content of what we're doing. So
The two biggest draws from other districts are HVAC and welding programs.
So we'll know more when the students register for next year.
Well,
and where we're going. I mean, we already know what's in place for the ag, for the mechanic part.
we're going to, go ahead and with this is one of those, y'all agree to that. But we're looking
This is a
at
done deal, yeah.
Floral design.
Right.
And weigh that option out. And really all we can do is put it out there and see how many kids we get that are interested in pursuing that. I mean, because I don't know if we had 5 kids, 10 kids, or, all of Rocio's advanced floral classes could want to pursue that next step.
Thank you.
Thanks.
Thank you.
So are we voting on that?
No. I don't think anyone signed up for the public forum, so we'll move on to item J1. Do I have a motion to approve the minutes of the regular board meeting held on September 19th and the special meeting held on October 3rd?
So moved.
Second? Ms. Campbell? All those in favor? Thanks. And I think I made a mistake before. We actually already have approved it. You want to do it again? Just so it's in the right place? Yeah, let's do it. The motion to approve Spanish 1 and Spanish 2 credit by exam that Mrs. Pecorino approved. Motion by Ms. Campbell, seconded by Mr. Morgan. All those in favor? Thanks. Am I missing a page? Discuss, consider, and take action on competitive bids for Apple MacBook.
Mr. Sauer had asked me to go out for bid for teacher MacBooks. We paid out of our ESSER funds. This is something that had already been planned. So we did, we got the one bid, which was from Apple, $1,079 a piece, which is $59,345.
Motion to approve? Ms. Campbell, seconded by Mr. Dossett. All those in favor? Thank you. Oh, amendments to the budget. I don't have
I just have a couple of amendments. Our cafeteria is receiving what they're calling a supply chain grant number 2. It's $33,224. And I have it budgeted for half and half, 22 campuses. And then also, high school had budgeted to send robotics to state, and that has been canceled. So the teacher is our high school science teacher, has said those 2 funds, which was $1,250 in travel and $500 in fees, be moved to the high school science supply account. And Mr. Sorensen has already approved this.
Can you do the cafeteria money once more for me?
Yes, we're getting $33,224 grant. We'll be using this, we're going to be using it in our milk and juice account for breakfast and lunch. Because at some point in time, they'll ask us how we spent the money, and that's where funds to be spent. So we'll actually be supplanting money we had already budgeted, which will help our fund balance for the end of the year.
Good. Is there a motion to approve those amendments? Mr. Ballard, seconded by Mr. Dossett. All those in favor? Thanks. Good. The purposes for